Good morning, everyone. Welcome to News Center Maine's Political Brew, or Political Home Brew in this case, as we all stay home this weekend. But good to see you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hardly anything going on in politics this week, but I think we'll find something to talk about. President Trump visited the Puritan Medical Products plant in Guilford on Friday. He thanked the workers who've been working full steam ahead for months to increase production of these badly needed testing swabs. And the president celebrated the public-private partnership that helped make it happen. Phil, that certainly seems like a well-deserved victory lap for the president.
Oh, for sure, but also for the men and women of Puritan Medical Products, as well as Bath Iron Works and Chimbro Corporation. It was a great, great day for the workers, and especially for the county, which, as we all know, is one of the most economically depressed areas of the state. It was a great day for Guilford.
John, what did you make of that?
I thought that it was a great political opportunity for the president. He wants to win the 2nd Congressional District. He went there. I know he's lagging, so too is Senator Collins in that particular area. He needed to show his presence. It was nice that he pointed out the workers of this company and of others because they've done a fabulous job. But I do think it was nothing more than a thinly veiled political event that the president sorely needs in that area.
There's no doubt that there's politics involved in a visit like this. So setting aside the fact that there was a legitimate desire to thank the workers, even though he'd been asked not to come right now, given the circumstances, he was there and everything played out okay. But of course, the 2nd District is friendly country, President Trump. And with former Governor LePage at his side at an earlier event, which we'll talk about in a minute, the president likened Janet Mills to being a dictator for not allowing everything in the state to reopen right away. They certainly sounded a lot like the GOP talking points going on right now, John.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of facts and there's a lot of opinions. And unfortunately, with President Trump, they don't always match. Truth is that the state of Maine has led the nation in opening up our economy. And it isn't as much as what people want or even I want, but it has been done and it's been done ahead of many other states. He's just picking on Governor Mills and the Democrats here in the state, trying to take a swipe at the Democrats because he understands that the Republicans are trailing in the 2nd CD, and I think that's really what his comments were all about.
Phil, the governor really struck back too, because Janet Mills does not take anything lying down. She said, in a response to being called a dictator, she said, "I've spent the better part of my career listening to loud men talk tough to disguise their weakness, and that's what I heard today." What do you think?
Well, I would say that was a terrific counterpunch. The president didn't have to assign a label like that to our governor. He didn't need to do that. I paid more attention, Pat, as you were covering this yesterday, to the men and women in the room. And the president, first of all, the town of Guilford's got 1,500 people. Reporters said it was over 5,000 people there. They were cheering and supporting the president. I saw that as a very interesting sign for Republicans. But I would also point out that he mentioned a couple of other things about made in America with American workers, and the crowd roared. He talked about the border wall and the crowd roared. So when he got to the comments about opening the state up and the crowd roared again, that's all he needed. He didn't have to go label Governor Mills as a dictator. It was, unnecessary.
Now, we mentioned when he first arrived in Bangor, the president had a roundtable discussion with some fishermen and people in the industry, and he signed an order that lifts restrictions on commercial fishing at the National Marine Monument established, surprised, by President Obama. There are some who are wondering, how much good is this going to do? Wouldn't we be better off if the president removed the tariffs that have sparked a trade war that keeps Maine from selling lobsters to China and other Asian countries?
Well, I watched your coverage of that from start to finish. I found it the most interesting part of his trip. And we'll have to see whether opening these waters makes a difference for Maine fishermen. That's perhaps to be seen in the years ahead. But what was discussed in that forum that I watched, the fishermen brought to light what you just said, Pat, about the tariffs that China imposes on our seafood and doesn't impose on Canadian seafood. They also pointed out the same thing is happening in the European Union, and the president looked at his trade czar, if I can use that word, and said, "I want to fix this. We're gonna take care of this." We'll see.
Yeah, if it's front of mind now, I think that would be a good thing for Maine. John, what did you make of that idea that the president said at the rally later, "Hey, I saved your fishing industry, and it was really easy to do."
I, I thought that's taking credit for the inevitable and also taking credit for somebody else's hard work. As State Representative McDonald said, who represents much of that district, the truth is that tariffs are killing the fishermen in Maine. And if the governor, excuse me, if the president wanted to seriously do something to assist there, rather than have a photo op, he would need to step up and do something that's about the tariffs that are harming our fishermen because they can't get the products exported.
Of course, the president makes news all the time, and one of the things he did was an unusual photo op in the midst of the turmoil in Washington and the demonstration, which sometimes turned violent. The president declared himself your president of law and order, but also an ally of peaceful protesters, even as some peaceful protesters were forced out of Lafayette Park, so that the president could walk across and stand in front of a church holding a Bible for a photo op. Even Senator Susan Collins, who generally does not openly criticize the president, said that was unsympathetic and insensitive and painful to watch. John, what did you make of that? What did you think the president's message was, and did that get through?
Well, first, I thought what Senator Collins said was a bit of an understatement. And what I thought was what the president did was very heavy-handed, essentially using what is effectively a governmental army to clear the way so that he could go down for a photo op when in fact people were trying to protest in Lafayette Circle, which has traditionally been an area where people can protest, can petition their government for change. And I thought that it was a really cheap political opportunity on the part of the president. I think he could have waited. And I think putting a Bible in his hand seems somewhat, at best, disingenuous.
If nothing else, it also seemed a little awkward, Phil. It was an odd kind of moment.
Yeah, I think he was trying to send two messages with one appearance. One saying we got to have law and order and get our streets back safe again. And then on the other hand, he was saying, I'm sympathetic to your willingness to protest. And you know, I would like to believe that the Secret Service were the ones who said, okay, if we're going to go to this physical location, we need to widen the safety zone for the president, and that's the actions that they had to take. And now he's got to pay for the PR fallout from it.
Closer to home, there was a meeting of the Labor Committee at the legislature this past week, and apparently members were expecting Labor Commissioner Laura Fortman to attend to talk about the problems with the unemployment system, which keep growing, but she did not appear. The governor said, no, I asked her not to appear because she's got work to do to fix these problems, but the optics certainly were bad, and she managed to anger a lot of legislators on both sides of the aisle, Phil.
Yeah, she did, and it's a page out of Governor LePage's book in some ways. It tells me that the Department of Labor's got bigger problems than perhaps we are aware of at this point in time, and they're working feverishly to fix them. But I also remember in my time, I was on the Appropriations Committee in the Senate, and the Department of Health and Human Services was constantly having these financial problems and cost overruns. And Governor King made sure that the commissioners were sitting in front of us, answering the questions, regardless of how difficult they were. I think we need to move away from this process of not showing up. The legislature is a co-equal branch. They have a right and a constitutional responsibility. They should have access to this information.
John, what do you think?
I think it was a huge mistake, a political mistake on the part of Governor Mills. No one should ever be too busy to come to meet with an equal branch of government. And I think that there are mounting problems at the Department of Labor. I feel very badly for Commissioner Fortman. She's been put in a very tough spot by her own doing. And I think that going forward would have been the best thing. And kudos to Senator Bellows and also Representative Sylvester, the two chairs, who basically said, this was wrong during the LePage administration. It's wrong now. And I think that that is probably a good first start in trying to get back on track.
Republicans here in Maine are wrapping up their signature gathering campaign for blocking ranked choice voting in November's presidential election. John, why are they so concerned about that aspect of ranked choice voting? It's not as though there's a serious third-party challenge who's going to affect President Trump's vote tally in the 2nd District or anywhere in Maine, is there?
Well, I think there may be now. I think with the pandemic, and I also think with the recent George Floyd death and the all the protests that are going on, that this could become a very close election in the 2nd CD. It might have been, you know, a layup for the president before, but not now. And I think they see this as a real threat to the president being able to take on the 2nd CD and win it.
Phil, do you think the party is that worried about that, or is it really just another way to chip away at ranked choice voting, which they're generally not fond of?
Yeah, I think Republicans are more concerned about what is happening to the role of voting and our Constitution, and this idea that ranked choice voting is going to have some people's votes not counted for various reasons. The Republicans are focused on, let's get back to how we elected people in the past. And this is, I don't think it has anything to do with this year's election in November.
All right, winners and losers in politics this week. John, we'll go with you first.
Loser is Attorney General Bill Barr, who effectively told officials to clear Lafayette Square so that the president could take his photo op at the church. I think that was wrong of him to do. The winner, I think, this week is both State Senator Shenna Bellows and also Mike Sylvester, the state rep, who are both chairs of the Labor Committee, who were not hypocrites this time here and said it's wrong when LePage wouldn't let a commissioner come. It's wrong now. Kudos to them.
And Phil?
My loser of the week are the criminal protesters over Mr. Floyd's death, with people wanting to protest peacefully, got overshadowed by criminals. They're my losers of the week. The winner of the week is Guilford, Maine. What a proud day it was for them and for our state.
All right, and I want to thank you for that. I want to remind everybody that Monday night at 7 o'clock, we're going to be talking with Democratic Senate candidates Betsy Sweet and Bree Kidman. Sarah Gideon declined to join us. On Wednesday, our Voice of the Voter Forum is with the Republican congressional candidates Adrian Bennett and Dale Crafts. Eric Brakey has decided not to attend, but we're going to discuss the issues just the same. Hope you'll join us then. See you next time on Political Brew. Have a great day, everyone.